Our next reader is Anthony Ferguson.
Okay, all of my poems are queer and political, so if you're homophobic, now's the time to leave. This is called The Universal Donor. My granda has the most sought after blood in the world. O negative, the universal donor. Able to be received by anyone in need. When he was a young man, they would be called in the night from desperate emergency wards, pleading for donations. He always went, God bless him. And after him, I must have seen my dad give blood 100 times. In different church halls with the same fold-out beds, the tables that reeked of disinfectant, and I ate every single biscuit on them while waiting for him. And it was there I decided, when I came of age, I would follow on this unofficial paternal tradition. And I'm pleased to announce that I got to a grand total of 5, where they gave me a certificate and a shiny red badge to wear on my school uniform and feel proud that by doing something as unconscious and undeliberate as make blood, I could save lives. Unfortunately, when you get to that age, other things become available. And in this country, an awkward teenage fumble found me banned for life. That despite being safer than safe, suddenly I wasn't good enough anymore. I wasn't pure enough to give, and the sick and injured will be better off without me. That hurts more than a needle in the arm. But now the law has changed. Now men who have sex with men and women who have sex with men who have sex with men are able to give blood. Oh wait, hang on, there's a bit of fine print here. Provided they are celibate for a year. Ooh, I don't know about you to borrow a very heavily copyrighted phrase. Once you pop, you just can't stop. And I mean, what are they so afraid of anyway? That they'll leave hospital after a car crash, suddenly knowing all the lyrics to Les Mis? That my plasma is like that which lightning makes, and like Dr. Frankenstein, I will raise something which should never be raised. Or like some kind of HIV, typhoid Mary, I'll kill everyone I'm trying to save. And it's not just us that has this unscientific 12-month ban. The rest of the UK has it as well. America has it as well. Orlando has it as well. And when my family, however distant, are believing that self-same life they so unconsciously and undeliberately made to be stopped at the door and asked, when was the last time you did it? Are you pure enough to give? That hurts more than a needle in the arm. Thank you. Yeah, mud digger, fossil finder, archaeologist, paleontologist, words to this day I still can't spell. But when I was 5, I knew a universal truth. Dinosaurs are cool. And after that, all their plans became more plain. Writer, teacher, gardener, and for one strange month, mortician. Until eventually reaching that teenage pinnacle of, I just don't want to be a part of the system, man. So I never knew what would take my adult fancy. But as it turns out, well, it's killing Nazis. No, this is coming from someone who can't stand to be in a fight. I get a wide-eyed and panic like the deer in the headlights of a fist. So I settle for a murder most mundane. More assassination of character than Nuremberg trial. I laugh. I watched the same video of Richard Spencer getting punched in the face set to the beat of New Order's Blue Monday. How does it feel? I laugh every time I see someone get a milkshake to the face. And for my birthday, every year I always ask for the same thing. 100 Nazi scalps. That's my bad Brad Pitt impersonation from Inglourious Basterds, in case you didn't know what that was. Sorry, it's very terrible. Now this, I would say, very passive. But to this, even the radical moderates cry out, the violence is never the answer. Then only love and moderated debate will take us to a loving future. And to this, I say, fuck off. And they say so much for the tolerant left. But what they have willingly forgotten, that if one of those right-wing Nazi fucks looks at me, they see a pink triangle wrapped in barbed wire. Were you aware that at the end of the last World War, as those terrible, camps were being liberated. Those inside who wore that triangle were left there to carry out their sentence. That's a fact. One that still hasn't sunk in. It's raw. I wake up remembering it every day. I am haunted, possessed by 63,000 ghosts who scream love and hate with the same breath, who lament that we still live in a world where we have to admit to being queer, like coming out is a confession, like we have done something wrong. Well, I tell you, on the wall of one of those old camps, scratched with a human nail, reads, if there is a God, he will have to beg for my forgiveness. And now I am grown. And all I want to be is the one that a kid can look up to and think, yeah, I can be me. I don't need to be afraid. And for some adults to see me and think, oh fuck. Because if we aren't afraid, they will be. Thank you. Last Friday of every month at the 343, it's on the Newton Ards Road. It's Belfast's only feminist-led queer art space, and it's a fantastic wee night if you want to come along. I'm going to end with this. It's called Do You Remember? Do you remember your first time? No, I don't mean sex. I mean the first time you looked at someone and felt butterflies in your stomach. Not knowing if that meant you wanted to look at them more or 100 miles in the other direction. And do you remember that awkward erection in maths class when you heard how much his voice had dropped over the summer? And do you remember all those confusing years before you realised that 2 plus 2 equaled queer? I'm very bad at math. And do you remember kissing the first person afterwards thinking, yeah, this is me. No use pretending otherwise. And I say, do you remember, like this is universal, but it's not. I'm just sharing. But we can all agree our education was a little overbearing when it insisted we would find and fall for that one fictitious other. Not the same, not being other ourselves and only one. What I would give to sit my 11-year-old self down and say, okay kid, this is where it gets weird. You've had the talk about changes you can expect, about how hair is going to grow pretty much everywhere except for where you want it, about how your voice is going to drop to about halfway to where you expect it, and, well, they left a lot out. You're not going to be simple, straightforward, and I'll leave you to work out what that means, because you're a kid, made to make mistakes and come out stronger and louder than before. But to save you my early heartbreak, I'll tell you this. You're one of the lucky ones. Born on the cusp of a new age, a ceasefire baby, and all around you is change. You'll find other voices. You'll find your own voice. And a path which leads to a road where I am, where stone by stone, poem by poem, I am trying to help build. And 10, 20, 30 years down that road, I want to look back and say, damn! Do you remember when we used to look both ways before eyes caught fire? When everyone around you realised, if we're the people we've been waiting for, then what the hell are we waiting for? There's a road to be built.